situation that's happening in Greenville, and a man is filed a police report because of this situation. So if you grant me 3 minutes, please.
We honestly can't, because 30 minutes is the amount.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I just tried to get everybody in.
okay.
And
Okay.
we'll begin now.
Okay, this is what Scott Gear wrote. He is the former county school board review committee man. And this is what he wrote. On Thursday, August 27, an email was sent to everyone on the book materials review committee, stating that now the reviews will be individual committees for each school, and there will be no longer a district committee. The employee referred the state legislation and the policy. Without even reading the legislation or the policy, we already know that this will be used to circumvent the review process where some school will allow adult books material into school libraries. I replied to the employee email asking everyone, "Does this concern you?" And I stated, "We need God-fearing conservative Christians on the board. This is the #1 issue in the school board elections coming up." My reply sparked hateful replies that went to everyone and to me individually. I replied with more information about which school board members voted to retain pornographic and homosexual content in school libraries and exactly what they voted against. I expected the replies. Immediately, I noticed my email was registered to homosexual dating website. Then my email was used for Hair Club Men, Democrat Party, Skim News, Publishing Clearinghouse, moving companies, and even a satanic group. These registrations use the address and phone numbers of where I volunteer office. On Friday afternoon, I did get a call from Jason Warren, the assistant of Greenville County School Superintendent, and I learned from Jason that this is also happening in Greenville County school employees.
I'm sorry. It is important. I think what I would do with additional time, if you haven't talked with anybody, I'm positively
And I'm
sure.
gonna tell you something about the phones. You take away the phones, record the teachers. We don't want teachers reading pornographic books and discussing to students. We need the classrooms to have recording as well.
Okay, thank you. And do us a favor, if you would, just put it in writing for us and get it to us, please. All right, if David Kopp would come forward, or Cope. And I'm sorry if you had 5 minutes planned, I'm sorry.
Actually, I think I got about 1.5 minutes.
You got it.
All right. I'm thankful for you giving me the opportunity to speak. I am David Kopp from Greenville County. I'm here to express my concerns over the graphic sexual content and sexual violence being in books in both public and school libraries. The vetting process for what we allow our kids to see must dramatically improve. Is this banning books? Yes, but it is also saving the lives of our children, our innocent lives of our children. In Greenville, the discovery of a book at a school library entitled How to Rape a Child was my last straw. I had to drive 2 hours to come here and demand more to be done to remove these filthy, disgusting books. We need to establish rules to prevent this from happening. Sadly, this book may have been instrumental in some sort of plan by someone who might have checked out the book. Libraries have become a dangerous place to allow our children to roam. It was my job to protect my children. It is a school's job to protect all children. You have a major responsibility and a warning to do just that from the Bible, Mark 9:42. And whoever shall offend one of his little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone be hanged about his neck and he be cast into the sea. I leave you with this, from Ephesians 6. Put on the whole armor of God and then fight to do what's right. For the people here are concerned that this is my view as banning books, I direct them to booksellers to purchase those books. Make our libraries safe again for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Our next sign-in, I'm going to get the first name, and after that, it's a lost cause. Irene,
Irene Turin-Heiliger, yes.
there you go. Thank you for coming.
I'm from Greenville County. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here today because about a week ago, I heard a woman speak from the Greenville County School District about why the school book fair in our county was canceled. And this is what she said. Scholastic Books, which once was a very reputable source of reading material for children, is now flooded with free books from woke LGBTQ communities, and that Scholastics forwards the free books to school districts for their book fairs. And then they include the free books with the so-called appropriate school-age reading materials. Recently, in the Greenville School Library, a book was found with the topic of how to rape a child. They naturally removed the book, and then they tried to find personnel to sift through the free woke books that were given to them, offered by Scholastics, in order to make sure they wouldn't be selling child rape books at the book fair accidentally. Sadly, they couldn't find anyone with time to look through the books, so they then decided to cancel the book fair completely. They didn't want to risk accidentally selling a book which proposes child sexual abuse, which is a crime. Also, it's important to know that South Carolina right now is one of the bottom 5 states in the 50 states in school performance. This demonstrates a crisis in the caliber of teaching and also in the content of lessons in the state of South Carolina. With such poorly performing children, the last thing we need to do is fill their minds with sexually explicit material. This manifests the essence of what sexual grooming of minors consists of.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have Brian Petrano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian Petrano from Lexington, parent. Don't envy the task the legislature gave you. Real quick regarding cell phones, just wanted to talk about the possibility of a campus ban. I just wanted to implore a couple of issues that may be of consideration for you. If you allow a full campus ban of students' smartphones, yet permit the legally required exceptions for the disabled, medical, and whatnot, my concern is that you would be unintentional consequences you used this morning, Mr. Chair, identifying those students who still have a phone as being disabled. I think that would be potentially discriminatory, and to quote Nathaniel Hawthorne, I have left thee to the scarlet letter. So I was just wanted to put that out there. I submit this may be arguably a violation of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. You've got the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then the IDEA Part B regulations, CFR 300.32 subsection D. D is in discrimination. I think these standards are already incorporated into your Reg 43-243. And then I just wanted to talk about the focus on safety. Madam Superintendent, you talked about, I think the suicide hotline being available for the students throughout the day is something that's important. They'll use their smartphones for that. I think it was here in South Carolina that there was an SRO officer that forcibly arrested a student, flipped over the desk and whatnot. That was captured on a student's cell phone. That officer was ultimately terminated. Let's see, you got the See Something, Say Something hotline. The students should be able to use that, use their smartphones. And then I think maybe there's a Title IX problem because cycle monitoring is important, and smart watches are used for that. And I just want to throw those out there for your consideration. Again, no one has a problem with keeping the phones in the bag during the actual instructional time. It's the full campus ban being an option for the districts if they were to choose that. It was the Uvalde students and their cell phones that they were able to call their parents and say goodbye. I just want to put that out there. Just don't ban them totally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We also now have Victoria Moreno Jackson, please.
I'm going to use my timer too, so I can help myself keep track. Good afternoon. I'm here as a parent of a 3rd and 8th grader in Greenville County, and I'm also here as a raging bibliophile. I want to provide you with feedback on Regulation 43-170. It interferes with my rights as a parent, and it harms schools, students, and school staff. It interferes with my freedom to parent my child because the people I want selecting books for my children are the teachers and the school librarians who we have hired. That is what they are trained for. That is what they are paid for. And they are the experts. That's who I want recommending books to my child. And it also harms the schools, the students, and the staff. For example, the best way for kids to have access to books is in the classroom libraries. Elementary students only go to the library once a week, and the public library option requires that family to have a car or access to public transportation. It's vitally important that the classrooms have libraries, and there are staff who are terrified of losing their livelihood and their license by somebody coming along and finding the wrong book. And so to protect themselves, they're removing the libraries from their classrooms. Also, the Greenville District canceled the book fairs. Last year, the Scholastic Book Fair provided $140,000 to the Greenville School District. I hear stuff about time and money. This is this unintended consequences. It's taking away time and money. And also the teachers and librarians are wasting time again because of that fear of losing their livelihood. They're afraid and have to go through the books with a tooth comb to make sure that they're not going to become fired. This regulation is rotten at its core. Humans have genitalia, humans have sex, they use drugs and do bad things, and the way to protect them is to read as much as possible about it, to know that they're not alone, and to know that there are ways that they can be strong and get through this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have another hard name. Marianne Sakasa de Strasburg.
You got it correct.
Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I'm a product of the public school system. I came from a single parent home where my mother worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time to keep a roof over her head. It was my teachers, counselors, librarians that taught me to read, motivated me to explore and learn outside the box. They taught me that there was a world outside of poverty, an unattainable world that with an education fueled by books, I was able to obtain. It is because of them and their pursuit and their mentorship that today I am a practicing board-certified emergency medicine physician. Today, I am here not as a doctor, but as a mom of 6 with 2 students at Greenville County School District that is concerned about Regulation 43-170. This regulation is vague. It has caused problems in our district, as you have heard. It does not promote learning or reading by limiting opportunities to have book fairs, causing there to be fines and limiting teachers to be allowed to have books in their rooms because they're concerned about losing their livelihood. There's no books. I've started to see it as a home mom. More importantly, it's causing our students to have emotional turmoil. Students learn by reading. It allows us to understand the world around us, to build empathy, to make the world a better place. This regulation oppresses teachers' involvement and parent consent. I am concerned about our future, about our next generation. We are ranked in the 40s in the state public school system, and we're not even close to 75%, is what you mentioned today. We're in the 50%. That to me is an F. We really think that limiting books and opportunities to obtain books is going to improve that. For students like me, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I do appreciate you. Jay Ragley. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, board members, Superintendent Weaver. Thank you all for your public service. Again, J.W. Ragley. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm a proud husband, proud father of 2 sons, both in elementary school, one of whom is on the autism spectrum. And I'm here today as a volunteer supporting the Phone-Free Schools movement, which supports the policy that's been presented before you, which would prohibit the use of cell phones during the school day, which we define as bell to bell. Phone Free Schools movement is supporting school districts around the country with an administrator toolkit, as well as a parent ambassador program, and we look forward to working with school districts here in South Carolina. I do want to offer a couple brief comments, though, that I've read about on social media to address some concerns that are out there amongst the public. First of all is the issue of school safety. As a father, I'm certainly concerned about school safety, and we talk about earthquake drills and fire drills and tornado drills, and yes, unfortunately, active shooting drills. Talking to a 5-year-old about why we have to do that is a hard conversation to have as a parent. But the first thing we teach children in those drills is you listen to your teacher and your first responder and you follow their instructions. You don't reach for your cell phone to take a photo or to text. And that's why it's important that we have all bell to bell, all day removal of the cell phones, so that in the case of an emergency, students are following the instructions of their teacher or their first responder. They're not worried about texting or taking a video of what is happening in an emergency situation. So that's one concern that's been realized on social media. Secondly, I want to talk about a social media comment that this is co-parenting with the government. Nothing could be further from the truth. That's a false and misleading claim, frankly. The government is not trying to do any co-parenting with this policy. They're trying to help teachers in public schools get the most out of the school day for students and their learning journey. If a parent wants to buy their child a cell phone, they're free to do so. They can put as many apps and games as they want to outside of the schoolhouse. But school buildings have been reasonably regulated for decades. You can't wear inappropriate clothing. You can't use vulgar language. You can't play the radio at a loud volume in order to promote an environment that's conducive to learning. And the workplaces that adults have those same rules. And in fact, there are workplaces that, guess what? Ban cell phones. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. Thank you for your time. Please pass a strong policy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ragley. Miranda Williams, if Miranda Williams would come forward, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak today. My name is Miranda Williams, and I'm the Southeast Legislative Director for ExcelinEd Action. And today I am here to express our support for South Carolina's proposed cell phone-free schools policy. The research is clear. Cell phone use in schools is a growing issue that impacts both student well-being and academic performance. This is not just a mental health concern. It is an educational crisis. The latest data from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development confirms that the best way to eliminate distractions in the classroom is a full ban on cell phones during the school day. Students who spend more time on their devices perform worse academically, especially in critical subjects. South Carolina's policy takes a comprehensive and forward-thinking approach to minimizing the distractions in schools. The policy carefully defines key terms, ensuring that there is a clear and consistent framework for school districts to implement. By specifically defining devices broadly, South Carolina is future-proofing this policy, making it easier to include emerging technologies without needing to amend the policy every time something new comes along. Moreover, we applaud the decision to implement a full school day ban on cell phones rather than limiting the restrictions to just instructional time alone. Cell phones can be just as distracting during non-instructional times like lunch periods. This comprehensive ban acknowledges that learning and development don't just happen in the classroom, they happen throughout the entire school day. And this is not just a South Carolina issue. It is a national concern. In 2023-2024 alone, several states, including Florida, Ohio, Louisiana, and Indiana, have passed legislation to address the impact of cell phone use in schools. Additionally, the governors of Virginia and Arkansas are leading statewide efforts to create cell phone-free classrooms in their school district. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. At this point, it would be Josh Malkin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Malkin. I'm a lawyer with and advocacy director for the ACLU of South Carolina. In another, perhaps happier life, I spent 5 years teaching middle school and high school math. I'm sure the members of this board have diverse experiences with education and diverse views. But when you're in this room, what you have in common is so much more important. You are here because you are dedicated to improving South Carolina's public schools for all students, all parents, all educators. As a former educator, I am so grateful for that. I am concerned, however, that some of this department's recent actions are run contrary to that larger mission. Regulation 43-170, the one about books, does nothing to improve educational outcomes for our students. Despite repeated assurances that implementation of this problematic policy would be, quote, logistically feasible, its rollout across the state has been chaotic. Some educators are explicitly being told they cannot have classroom libraries, others are not doing so out of fear. Also problematic is the department's decision to discontinue AP African American Studies. It sends the message that studying African American culture deserves less weight than studying American history or European history. I wonder why a department meant to support students, parents, and educators is enacting such counterintuitive policies. I am concerned that this department is being influenced by groups in Washington and South Carolina who desire to sow distrust in public education and our incredible educators in order to make it easier to privatize education here. It is no secret that wealthy national groups are actively pursuing this goal. This department should be doing everything it can to resist the influences of these groups in our state rather than doing their bidding. Given the respect for public education that I know so many of you to have, I question the transparency of the department's agenda, and I imagine there is more to come. Please do what you can to defend our public schools and take time to listen to our educators if they reach out. For clear reasons, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. If Michelle Spires would come forward, please. Two minutes as best you can.
Yes, I can. Good afternoon, Superintendent Weaver, Board Chair Dr. O'Shields, board members, and other in attendance today. My name is Michelle Spires. I am currently a high school librarian in the upstate, a mom to 3 daughters, 2 of which have graduated from public school, 1 currently in middle school, and I also have 3 grandchildren in public schools. So I come today not only as an educator, but also a parent and grandparent. My concern today is in regards to the instructional materials regulation that was passed on June 25th, 2024. I'm not here today to agree or disagree about the regulation, but instead to urge the State Department to issue further guidance on how it should be implemented, because right now, not all districts are interpreting it the same way. On July 24, 2024, I spoke with Dr. Mark Herring, the Education Associate for School Librarians, expressed my concern that the Department of Education had not released any guidance on the regulation to educators and that my students would be returning to school on August 1st. He stated the DOE hoped to have something out within the next few weeks. Based on your memorandum to district superintendents on June 27, 2024, you stated the South Carolina Department of Education team is hard at work to provide districts with timely, user-friendly tools and information that will be available in short order to assist in compliance with the provisions of Regulation 43-170, and goes on to state, our team is committed to continuous quality improvement and welcomes questions and ideas to help us create useful tools, helpful resources, and practical guidance for teachers and administrators as we move through the implementation process together. As of yet, you have a website that is dedicated to the regulation, but it does not provide clear guidance for resources to use when purchasing new instructional materials. I did receive information from Dr. Herring to use BookLooks. However, BookLooks was created as a website in 2022 with its mission stated on the website to write and collect detailed and easy to understand book content reviews centered around objectionable content, including profanity, nudity, and sexual content. And so while I see that that is important, there are resources out there that I hope you will utilize, the University of South Carolina, SCASL, and even myself if needed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jessica Winters, please. Jessica Winters. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm a parent of a student in the Greenville County School District, and I'm here today to voice my concerns about the State Board of Education Regulation 43-170, as many of us here are. It seems as if the board either didn't consider or maybe didn't fully grasp the true impact this regulation and its implementation would have in our schools. As we have discussed, the unintended consequences. It is here now, however, and the consequences of the policy and its seemingly arbitrary standards for what is appropriate reading and learning material for students has already begun to wreak havoc. First, as we've mentioned, on the path of devastation of this policy is book fairs. Greenville County has canceled book fairs in schools due to the overwhelming task of ensuring every book that could possibly be sold at the book fair was deemed appropriate. As a parent and a book fair volunteer of several years, I have never seen a book at the school book fair that would not be appropriate for the students. I believe the Department of Education knew exactly how districts would react to this regulation and how it would play out. As a parent and an advocate for public schools, as well as my own child's education, I am frustrated and angered by the scare tactics employed by members of the Department of Education and extremist groups like Moms for Liberty. The idea that parents have not previously had a choice in the materials their children are exposed to in schools and that this new regulation is going to change that is untrue. School curriculum has always been publicly available to parents, and parents have always had the choice to allow their student to read or view something they don't, whether or not they agree with it. In reality, the regulation disempowers parents and actually strips us of our parental choice. Parents should have the choice to have a conversation with our children about content that maybe bring up questions for them. We need to prepare our children to be thoughtful members of the community, and reading is an integral part of showing them ideas and experiences they may not know about. It is up to us to parent and engage with our kids about these things, even those that may challenge our beliefs. This is how our children grow into confident, independent, free-thinking members of society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Would ask Liam Winters if he would come forward, please. I gathered there was some relation.
Okay. Is it okay if I stand up here with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Liam Winters, and I am a 7th grader from Greenville County. I'm here today because Greenville County School District decided to cancel book fairs in all schools this year because of the new state regulation. I have been going to my school book fair every year since I was in 4K, even last year in my first year of middle school. When they announce that it is time for the book fair, it is always exciting, and I look forward to going and finding new books or adding another one to my favorite series. I also come home with a stack of books that I can't wait to start reading. So, when I found out that we weren't having one this year, I was crushed. Not only am I sad for myself, but for all the kids in the district. Book fairs are a place where we get to pick out books ourselves based on our likes and interests. As a kid, picking out and paying for a brand new book by yourself gives you a feeling of freedom and independence. There are schools that even provide books for free or cheaper at the book fair, so every kid can bring a new book home. The book fair can be the only place for some kids to ever get new books to take home and keep. It doesn't seem right to take away book fairs for everyone just because some people are worried about what books their kid sees. Maybe instead parents should be able to ask that their kids don't go to the book fair, or they could find a time to go with their kid. This way they have a choice, and so do all the parents. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and speak to you. I hope I have helped you see why I love book fairs and why I think they should stay in our schools. Please help bring back our school book fairs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. We have Charlotte Wood, please. You brought up your own clock.
Hello. I'm here to tell y'all what I worry about as a mom with 3 kids in public school. I worry that every time you make a burdensome regulation, you are going to lose good teachers. I worry about what will happen when you simply can't fill all of the classrooms with teachers. This regulation of micromanaging what is allowed in books has teachers working so hard. And these meetings are held when they can't even come to voice their concerns. Teachers are putting every book, every article, every resource up on their teacher websites, apparently so it can be accessed by parents. I was at my son's school last week for open house, and all of his teachers showed us their websites. They were scrolling down, down, down to show us all the things that they have put out there because it is required of them. Who is looking at that? I'm not looking at all of that. I trust my kids' teachers to teach them. They aren't going to agree with me on everything, but I think it's good for my kids to hear from various perspectives. Teachers are removing books from their classrooms because they do not have time to catalog every book and make sure that every book does not have one sentence that goes against this high control regulation. This is government overreach. And why are we so worried about what's in books? Kids are on the internet. These regulations target LGBTQ books. LGBTQ people don't need to be hidden away out of our books. And LGBTQ people are everywhere. They're in this room and they are teaching our kids. If we ban LGBTQ books, the next step is to ban LGBTQ teachers and students. That's what they do in Christian schools, but public school is for everyone. Please leave our teachers free to teach by giving them more support and fewer burdens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right, we have Craig Logan. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Craig Logan. Staying here as a longtime community activist, organizer, and grassroots organizer. I'm here to just shed light on recent decisions made by this board and this department. In doing so, I ask that this board commits its attention and time to providing truthful educational practices within South Carolina. In just the last 3 months alone, we've seen unilateral decisions made by this state's leadership that leaves the board members at jeopardy of scrutiny from the public and the community at large. It is our duty to ensure that truthful education is taught within South Carolina. We've seen how negative practices largely has driven orders of people from people in higher places that attempt to impact students in our surrounding states. Where are the parents' rights to their children's education? The moral compass of our state is a heavy one, and there are organizations working to sweep our rich cultural history under the rug. We cannot allow that to happen in South Carolina. If the history of our state and our nation is too heavy, then we also should consider the lineage of those who have also been oppressed and have endured the oppression within our state and also within our nation. Just a few minutes ago, Superintendent Weaver, you made a statement that said, let's give teachers the freedom to teach as it pertains to cell phones, but yet we are embedding webs of censorship within bills that prohibit teachers from doing just that, giving them the freedom to teach. We are consistently creating roadblocks for teachers to do just that. While a lot of times we tend to quote Dr. King, thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you very much. All right, our final speaker is Abdullah Mustafa. If Mr. Mustafa would come forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I am a grandparent of Richland 1, Richland School. I am retired Army. We are all leaders. We're all leaders. And as we are leaders, we want to create leaders when it comes down to the students throughout South Carolina. That's our responsibility. What reflects today in students has to reflect the leaders. So we have to change that. We have to, when we go to our retreats, it's time for us to come back to the center and begin to reevaluate, because we're going down a road where we're not creating leaders whatsoever. They're not on grade level. Every student, every child in South Carolina should be on grade level. Our tax dollars requires that. Leadership requires that. We have great leadership today than we had 100 years ago, I want to say. We believe that. I advocate for all schools, especially Hayward Technology Career Center, Vocational Center. I'm a believer in skills, career skills, but our students are not career ready, nor they're college ready. I don't know how many of you guys been to Hayward Career Center, but they're not ready. We need resources. We need you guys to visit, not just Hayward, but all of them, but definitely where I'm at, working with Hayward Career Center. This particular center been there for 50 years, and unfortunately, most of the public knows nothing about it. But when we begin to evaluate our children, we have to ask ourselves, what is wrong? We can't blame the children. We have to blame us as adults, all of us. I come from a community where everyone is a mother and everyone is a father. And this is how I look at our children. This is how we must look at our children. Every one of us have a calling. This is a calling that we have. Nelson Mandela said, men and women comes and go. Many don't even leave their names behind. We have to ask ourselves a question. Will we leave our names behind?
Thank you, sir.